The core of the problem. Religious people often fail to convert atheists. It's not mere stubbornness or close-mindedness. It's fundamental differences in the very framework of belief. Religious people often approach the topic of faith with the ingrained assumption that everyone inherently possesses a God-shaped whole, an innate yearning for the divine, and that belief is the natural, default state. Doubt, questioning, and disbelief are seen as deviations, as conditions to be remedied. This is the foundational premise. But for many non-believers, this assumption is incorrect. They don't perceive this whole. They don't experience this inherent need for faith. They may have had religious experiences, or have studied scriptures closely, but they haven't found that intrinsic connection. This creates an immediate disconnect. Faith, at its core, isn't about evidence. It's about trust. Trust in a narrative, in a tradition, in an authority. When that trust is not granted from the beginning, no amount of emotional stories, ancient texts, or spiritual testimonies can truly bridge the gap. The lack of that initial trust is what frequently undercuts attempts at conversion. It's a fundamentally different mode of understanding the world, a different starting point. Arguments for religion often appeal to certain human desires: certainty, the fear of death, the need for purpose. But these aren't universal. Many people don't find the promise of an afterlife compelling. They find meaning in the finite nature of life, making experiences more intense, not empty. The fear of the unknown doesn't automatically translate into a need for salvation. The appeal to morality is a common tactic. Without God, there's no objective right or wrong. The argument goes, but this assumes people need external rules. In reality, secular societies often exhibit higher levels of trust, lower crime rates, and better social outcomes. Morality evolves from empathy, shared values, and social contracts, not from divine commands or the fear of hell. Helping others becomes a human project, not a religious obligation. Conversion attempts frequently fail because the emotional experiences during religious worship, moments of insight, healing, or spiritual awe, are intensely personal and subjective. These private moments can feel profoundly real to the person experiencing them, but they can be meaningless, even baffling, to an outsider. Neuroscience sheds light on this. Electrical misfires in the brain can mimic the feeling of religious ecstasy. This raises a difficult question. If your most sacred feelings can be reproduced artificially, is it truly proof of something beyond yourself? Then there are the religious texts. Quoting scripture to someone who doesn't accept its authority is like calling a witness the jury doesn't recognize. It's not persuasive. It's circular reasoning. You're using the belief itself to try to prove the belief. The personal relationship with God approach also faces hurdles. Such relationships require interaction. If someone has never experienced the presence of a deity, the idea of being in rebellion or denial doesn't resonate. It's like being blamed for not answering a call that never came. Moreover, many non-believers have actually studied religious texts more thoroughly than the average believer. Disbelief is often the result of careful, critical reading, not ignorance. They understand what they are rejecting. Pew Research data supports this. Religion also often attempts to universalize highly specific human experiences. When someone feels awe, love, or despair, religious traditions claim these as evidence of the divine. But those feelings also arise in nature, music, and human connection. Powerful experiences are not, in themselves, definitive proof of anything. Sometimes arguments turn historical, citing the beauty of cathedrals, the impact of scripture on laws and culture. But influence is not truth. Alchemy influenced chemistry. Astrology influenced astronomy. Influence can shape history without being based on correct premises. Fear tactics, such as the threat of hell, are completely ineffective. If someone doesn't believe in the system, the punishments have no weight. Pitying non-believers shows a fundamental misunderstanding. You can't miss what you don't value. And perhaps most crucially, belief isn't a choice. You cannot simply decide to believe something you find unconvincing. You can go through the motions, but the genuine formation of belief relies on experiences, reasoning, and one's overall sense of the world. That's why the frustration exists. People often see belief as a choice, like joining a club, but for someone who doesn't find the premise believable, there's nothing to convert to. And finally, there's a growing recognition that religion often raises more questions than it answers. Where did God come from? Why the contradictions? Why the conveniently improvable miracles? A system that requires belief without evidence will struggle to convince those who prioritize testable claims. It's not about being stubborn. It's about valuing a different standard of truth. They've often been through the system and found nothing. For those who no longer believe, the world is full of meaning. It's in the small acts of kindness, the shared joys, and the love that doesn't need saving. It's freedom.